Welcome to Buckaroo Buckeye's look at the reading process and reading assessment for parents, Part 2. The material provided in this presentation is simply designed to help you identify symptoms of your child's reading ability level. Like any concern, if the symptoms continue or worsen, you need to seek further consultation with professional specialists such as, but not limited to, your pediatrician, school psychologist, teachers, and other specialists as recommended. Early detection and intervention is key to your child's success in reading. In Buckaroo Buckeye's look at the reading process Part 1, the brain and the reading process was introduced. To continue, in Part 2, we ask the question, what can parents do? If you sense or observe that your child is experiencing difficulty with reading and comprehension, please don't ignore it. You are the first responder for help in their journey to become a successful reader. Have your child's reading ability level assessed early and at frequent intervals. When is this, you ask? Start at the end of kindergarten, beginning of first grade, through third grade. Most research highlights the importance of early intervention before the end of third grade for reading difficulties. After third grade, it can turn into a difficult game of catch-up. At a minimum, reading ability level should be assessed twice a year, a pre at the beginning of the school year and then again a post at the end of the school year. The goal is to minimize developing a significant gap in your child's grade level reading ability, which is considered to be 1 to 2 years below grade level. Monitoring with screens helps track growth and/or continued weak areas of need. Even if you do not have concerns about your child's reading ability, monitoring on a frequent basis is still beneficial. Early diagnosis is key. Reading relies upon what is called assessment to identify concerns and measure growth. There are standardized formal reading assessments. These are more generalized tests such as Iowa Basic Skills, Gates McGinnity, Stanford Achievement, Terra Nova, SATs, ACTs. These tests are scientific, formula-based, and driven results that compare individuals to a large normative group. These tests are a necessary quantitative need for measuring, but it is very hard to pinpoint specific individual needs based solely on standardized tests. So why informal screens? What do informal screens provide? As a reading specialist, I need to pinpoint in order to prepare a path for reading intervention. Earlier and better pinpoint identification of specific weakness areas in the reading process allows for more targeted instruction and exercise of these weak areas. Informal reading assessments or screens allow for a more individualized approach to monitor for growth and ultimate strengthening of the weak areas. Strengthening of weak areas takes consistent exercise over extended time by parents in partnership with curriculum, best practices, educators, and other professionals. You may be familiar with many types of common informal reading screens such as DRAs, basic reading inventories, FRIES, Indulge, sight words, DIBBLES, accelerated reader, QRI, and the list goes on. My goal as a reading specialist is to gain insight into all the sectors of the reading process as discussed in Part 1 using an informal reading screen. Only then can a plan of intervention be prepared. A typical informal screen for end of K through grade 3 and up to adult includes concepts about print, phoneme awareness for auditory processing, letter identification for visual processing, letter sound identification for visual processing, sight words for visual processing, reading inventory and word call for language processing, and comprehension. Ideally, you want to identify weaknesses as early as possible. Is that all? There are many other brain processing skills that allow for success in reading, such as these identified in the LD Self-Advocacy Manual written by Scott Krauss. Sequential rational processing involves the brain in processes such as short-term memory for details, long-term retrieval of details, fine motor coordination, finding the words to say, organizing thoughts, reading speed, and decoding. Conceptual processing involves the brain in processes such as reasoning, spatial awareness, inferential thinking, estimation, and approximation. Processing speed involves the brain in the processing of short-term memory under time pressure or long-term retrieval under time pressure, talking speed, and word finding. Attention skills involves the brain in the ability to stay focused on tasks and reading materials, impulse control, coordination, writing mechanics, and attending to details. So what can parents do? Learning to read is built on a foundation of language skills that children start to learn at birth. Most children develop certain skills as they move through the early stages of learning language, and by age 7 most children are reading. The following chart lists a few of many developmental accomplishments as based on scientific research in the fields of reading, early childhood education, and child development. As you look over the accomplishments, keep in mind that children vary a great deal in how they develop and learn. As seen here, the table is divided into 4 age ranges, starting with birth to 3, followed by age 3 to 4, then age 5 to 6, and ending with age 6 to 7. I won't read each column out loud, but we'll pause here for a few seconds for you to skim the table for yourself. If you have concerns about your child's progress, talk with your child's doctor, teacher, speech and language therapist, or other professional. For children with any kind of disability or learning problem, the sooner they get the special help they need, the easier it will be for them to learn. Invest in early and frequent informal reading assessments to monitor your child's reading ability level, such as Nuts About Reading, an online web-based video conference for reading assessment. It's private, convenient, and individualized. Again, on behalf of Buckaroo Buckeye, thank you, and visit me at the web address listed on this slide, where you can also reach me by email.